Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Craig Scott,
Here.
Mark Serbrook,
Present.
Ron Vaughn,
Present.
Brad Newbecker,
Here.
Jenny David.
Here. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Any additions or corrections?
None.
Can we have a motion to?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion from Commissioner Scott with support from Commissioner Newbecker to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3A, election of vice chairperson. Section 3 of the County Boards of Commissioners Act requires that the vice chairperson shall be elected annually for a one-year term. On December 10th, 2020, the Board of Commissioners approved Resolution 20-77 to adopt rules of procedure that include a structure for election of a vice chairperson. The chairperson will call for nominations for the office of vice chairperson, and when nominations are closed by majority vote or no other nominations are forthcoming, the chairperson will order the roll of commissioners to be called. When one nominee receives 3 votes of the members elected and serving, that nominee shall be declared the vice chairperson. There is no statutory provisions to allow for a secret ballot in election of the vice chairperson. Nomination for vice chairperson.
Brad, you've been doing a good job. You want to keep doing it?
That's fine, if you guys still.
I'll nominate Brad to do the vice president or chairman.
We have a motion from Commissioner Scott. Do we have support?
Support.
We have some support, I believe, by Commissioner Serbrook. We have to do roll call on this, correct?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Server.
Jenny David,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook,
Yes.
Ron Vaughn,
Yes.
Brad Newbecker,
Yes.
Motion carries. Commissioner Newbecker will remain vice chairperson. Item 3B, resolution to approve standing committee assignments. This resolution is presented following discussion at the January 6th committee of the whole meeting. Section 8.1 of the rules of procedure require that the chairperson to appoint commissioners to standing committees of the board each year. With the consent of the appointees, standing committee appointments are subject to confirmation by the Board of Commissioners. Commissioners are considered their respective standing committee assignments at a committee of the whole meeting held on January 6, 2022. If approved, the proposed resolution will confirm committee assignments for calendar year 2022. I did have an opportunity to review that, and it sounds like at the committee of the whole, everybody who discussed this wanted to remain on their committees.
Unless,
Is-
unless you wanted to do something with claims, I mean, if you're happy with claims.
I didn't
That was
see
the only
that.
discussion that we really had was about claims. Right?
Yeah, I think, where are we at with claims? Who's the next?
Myself and Brad are doing,
They do the first quarter.
Okay,
and then
so,
you're-
I got it.
Craig and you yourself are on the second quarter.
and you requested that to be done by Tuesday? And it worked out well when I did it last time. Tracy left them in here. I came in the evening. Is that still gonna be possible? Going forward?
Shouldn't be nothing.
Okay.
We say if it's a conflict for you, Jenny,
No, no.
I'm more than happy to do it.
I actually enjoyed it. It
Okay.
was informative for me, so I did enjoy it. It's just, they accommodated my schedule, which I was appreciative of. So no, I don't have a problem at all.
Okay,
So I think we're good on that.
all right, then I'd make a motion that we adopt the resolution presented.
second,
If you're good.
When does the second?
Second
Start-
quarter starts April, May, and June.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Serbrook, I think with support from Commissioner Vaughn to continue the resolution to approve standing committee assignments. Is that a roll call or? Roll call? Okay.
whatever you normally do.
Or six, sorry.
Yeah.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook,
Yes.
Ron Vaughn,
Yes,
Brad Newbecker,
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes. Item 3C, resolution to approve board member liaison assignments. This resolution is presented following discussion at the January 6th committee of the whole meeting. Members of the Board of Commissioners serve as liaisons to various boards and commissioners throughout Ogemaw County, the region, and state. Some liaisons serve as voting members, while others serve as ex officio. Liaison members serve as a vital communication link to foster understanding and program coordination efforts. Section 8.1.2 of the Rules of Procedure requires that all appointees to other boards, authorities, and commissioners shall be ratified by the board. If approved, the proposed resolution will confirm liaison assignments for the calendar year 2022.
Make a motion that we adopt the resolutions presented, as long as everybody's happy with where they're at, and it sounded like everybody was, so.
We have a motion from Commissioner Serbuk. Did you
I'll
support?
second, just as long as everybody's happy, just like Mark said.
With support from Commissioner Scott. Is there any discussion?
As long as everybody still wants to do it.
I didn't. Okay, no further discussion. I don't have any. Roll call vote.
Mark Serbrook,
Yes.
Ron Vaughn,
Yes.
Brad Newbecker,
Yes.
Jenny David,
Yes.
Craig
Of course,
Scott.
yes.
Item 4A, approval of the December 21st, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
One issue. I just want to clarify, I think the motion, be second from the bottom, the motion that we adopt the resolution to authorize application for federal assistance. I think we need to have in there about the vehicles.
It's a USDA
USDA
Grant
grant for vehicles. You know,
Sheriff's Office vehicles.
just for historical value.
Okay,
Other than that, I will make a motion to accept these minutes with that addition.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Scott with support from Commissioner Serbrook to approve the December 21st, 2021 regular meeting minutes with the discussed changes. Any further discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the January 6th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
I reviewed those and I'll make a motion to approve those minutes. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Newbecker with support from Commissioner Vaughn to approve the January 6th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, public comment on agenda item manners. State your name for the record, speak only to the chairperson, stand behind the podium when speaking, limit comments to 3 minutes or fewer, and follow the direction of the chairperson. This is agenda items only. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment on the phone? Any public comment? Item 6, correspondence. I don't believe I've seen any. Item 7, action on consent calendar.
Let's just take them one by one.
Okay, item 8A, resolution of intent to apply for state formula operating assistance for fiscal year 2023. This resolution is sponsored by the Transit Director. Pursuant to the State Trunk Line Highway System Act, it is necessary for the Ogemaw County Board of Commissioners operating as an eligible government agency under Revenue Bond Act to provide a local transportation program for the state fiscal year 2023, and therefore apply for state financial assistance under provision of Act 51. It is also necessary for the board to name an official representative for all public transportation matters. The proposed resolution makes known the intentions of the board to provide public transportation services and to apply for $1,271,261 in state and federal financial assistance in accordance with Act 51. The resolution also appoints Transit Director Ray Blamer as a transportation coordinator for all public transportation matters.
I'll make the motion to approve this resolution.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Scott, and I believe Commissioner Serbrook supported that.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Jenny David,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook,
Yes.
Ron Vaughn,
Yes.
Brad Newbecker.
Yes.
Resolution carries. Item 8A, resolution to accept 8B, resolution to accept coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriation grant. This resolution is sponsored by the Transit Director. The U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Transit Administration provides grants for rural areas to provide capital planning and operating assistance to states and federally recognized Indian tribes to support public transportation in rural areas with populations of fewer than 50,000, where many residents often rely on public transit to reach their destinations. Ogemaw County was approved to receive $407,868 from the fiscal year 2022, Section 5311 Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. The proposed resolution documents formula acceptance of this grant.
Make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Serbrook with support from Commissioner Vaughn to approve the resolution to accept coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriations grant. Is there any, and I heard you at the committee of the, I watched the video in the committee of the whole, Mr. Blamer. With this monies, is there a specific way that you have to spend them? Spend it?
No.
There's not, there's no stipulations?
It's just like 5311, the normal funding, but instead of getting 18%, getting 40% for 2022. And at the committee of the whole meeting, I told them that we were only going to get 18% for that for this coming year, but state, in their ways, they changed it. So I guess they had money left over from this corona virus money that they got from the federal government. So,
And you're able to spend this however you would like?
oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay,
It's operating capital.
any further questions?
No, I don't have any more. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah. Hey, Brock, I'm gonna make another copy of that for you. I don't like the blue marks on it.
Okay.
I'll just bring it in tomorrow when
I believe there was, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Can we get a roll call vote on that?
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook.
Yes.
Ron Vaughn.
Yes.
Brad Newbecker.
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes. Item 8C, resolution to authorize, thanks, Ray.
thank you.
Resolution to authorize increased custodian and custodial maintenance supervisor work hours. This resolution is sponsored by the county administrator, employees of the courthouse, and grounds department generally work up to 35 hours each week and 70 hours in each pay period. The anticipated absence of one custodian for at least the next 12 weeks necessitates an increase in authorized work hours of work for custodian and custodial maintenance supervisor to address departmental workload. The proposed resolution will authorize both employees to work up to 40 hours per week, 80 hours per pay period through April 1st, 2022. Authorization to allow additional hours will not require a budget adjustment at this time.
I'll make the motion that we accept the resolution as presented. It was very well discussed at the. So
Support the motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Vaughn with support from Commissioner Serbrook. Is there any discussion?
We talked about just the custodian last week. We didn't talk about the custodian maintenance supervisor. Even the minutes reflect that. What,
There's a discrepancy in understanding of the hours that are worked by the custodian, the maintenance supervisor / custodian position. Our union contract says all employees, unless otherwise cited in the contract or in the budget, work 35 hours per week. That position is budgeted for 35 hours per week. But I did learn through this exercise that there was an assumption he was working 40 hours per week. So we'll be correcting that sort of as part of this process as well. But in the meantime, your authorized staffing level only states 35 hours. So if we are going to work in 40, there needs to be an act of the board to allow that to occur. So this is intended to capture all of that. When the time is expired on this, we're anticipating April at this point. It could be extended depending on other circumstances. But once this is expired, for that, we'll be having a conversation with all the employees concerned to make sure we're all operating on the same understanding of how many hours are to be worked.
So according to this resolution, there's 2 individuals that are being increased to 40 hours per week.
Right.
so we're going temporary until the third person comes back on both of these.
Right. And then once the third person's back, we go to 35 on all 3 positions.
And you are the supervisor for these positions, correct?
That's right. And we have an opportunity to meet with that department coming up here in the next couple of weeks to not only solidify that, but to talk about these schedules and who's working when. I had some questions on some overtime that I did not authorize. So we'll be setting forward the work rules for how overtime is authorized. Moving forward.
Next question. Okay,
Any further questions? Is she doing okay? I mean, I don't.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we saw her day before yesterday.
yeah, she's around.
She's got some work ahead of her, though.
I ran into her as well. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mark Serbrook.
Yes.
Ron Vaughn.
Yes.
Brad Newbecker.
Yes.
Jenny David. Yes. Craig Scott.
Yes,
Item 8D, resolution to determine American Rescue Plan Act grant allowance for revenue loss and to rescind resolution 21-160. This resolution is sponsored by the county administrator. On May 13th, 2021, the Ogemaw County Board of Commissioners adopted resolution 20-58 to accept an American Rescue Plan Act grant award from the U.S. Department of Treasury in the amount of $4,078,421. ARPA interim rules allowed for replacement of lost revenues to provide for services that were affected by revenue reductions, including restoration of fiscal stability and government operations and ensuring economic recovery to those in the community. The board subsequently adopted resolution 20-160 to designate a portion of the ARPA awards as lost revenue. On January 6, 2022, the Department of Treasury released final rules for use of ARPA funds that includes recognition of a standard allowance for revenue loss of $10 million. The proposed resolution rescinds resolution 21-160 and formally designates the entire ARPA grant award as lost revenue.
Make a motion that we accept the resolution as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Serbrook with support from Commissioner Scott. I guess there's something there I didn't understand. I thought we were determined that $2,477,119 was considered lost revenues.
We did, and that was based on the formula that was originally put forward to calculate how much would be eligible for lost revenue. But with the final rules that came out on January 6th, the Department of Treasury said there would be a standard allowance of 10 million to be counted as lost revenue. We received just over 4 million, so the entire amount is eligible now to be lost revenue. I recall there was some conversation between two auditing firms about what would calculate as lost revenue, but this latest rule change absolutely put to rest any discussion about how much would be eligible as lost revenue.
So the entire amount can be considered lost revenue.
Right.
That means that we don't have to utilize it to balance our budget. It means that we can spend it how we see fit going forward.
I think the latter is accurate. You can literally spend how you see fit. The prior rule would have said that we would have certain silos we needed to address, and then the reporting requirements that would follow that are a little more detailed. This really relaxes some of that concern as far as reporting requirements are concerned. It's all on that single category of lost revenue. That's how we're reported going forward. Literally be only one report then that we end up having to submit.
Okay.
So it's a much easier process for the smaller municipalities.
Is there a time limit now?
Time limits all remain, so the funds will have to be committed by 2024 and expended by 2026. I don't believe that's going to be a problem.
Well, we're committing now, aren't we?
We
By
have,
vote?
we're just stating by this vote that it will be considered lost revenue.
Okay.
We still got a lot of work to do in terms of defining where the spending will occur. But yeah, this is just setting the stage for moving forward.
Any further questions? Roll call vote.
Ron Vaughn.
Yes.
Brad Newbecker.
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes.
Craig Scott.
Yes.
Mark Serbrook.
Yes.
Item 8E claims. We have claims of $206,589.87. Is that correct?
That is correct. Me and Ron reviewed claims pretty much together. Couple things that obviously stuck out were the reconciliation audit. I think it was about $43,000 we spent on that.
Monumentation, those two different entities. Card and Lapham.
Pardon me?
Card and Lapham for the remonumentation. That was one. It's pretty high.
Childcare had I think there was like a $10,000 one I seen in there as well.
Yeah, there was one bill to, I believe it was Ogemaw County. For, use.
Some repairs in there as well. I think there was some vehicle repairs and maintenance and things.
Yeah.
Any questions on claims, guys?
Oh, I guess I'd make the motion to pay the claims.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Rebecca with support from Commissioner Vaughn. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Scott, did you have something?
The MSU, that was an appropriation pass through.
MSU, yeah, I seen that.
Contract. I understand the monumentation. We did a resolution on who was gonna do that, didn't we? Yes, I thought we did, yeah. So that's kind of a pre-planned expense.
There's also almost $10,000 or just over $10,000 in legal fees as well.
Yeah, there was quite a few in there for Foley Mansfield I seen. So does that, are we up to date on?
As far as I know, we are.
Okay,
I get surprised by a lagging bill now and then, but if that happens, at least I scrutinize that.
great.
See, we got a bill, or is this a number of bills for ammunition, $7,800? Are we going over the threshold of bidding or at least approval, or are we stringing bills so that we don't have to ask for approval?
I don't have an answer for you right now, but I'll look at it and check it out.
I'm not questioning need, not questioning need,
Where are you at? What page?
process.
What page are you on?
Page 4 out of 23. 4 or 5 down. $7,800. Other supplies,
Michigan ammo
4,000,
For yearly firearm training?
disbursements of 3820. It's not a question of why, it's a question of procedure. That's why I questioned the pass-throughs and things like that. So I asked the administrator to look at that, please.
Anything else?
Nothing else.
We get a roll call vote?
Brad Newbecker,
Yes.
Jenny David,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook.
Yes.
Ron Vaughn.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 9, unfinished business. Are there any?
We don't have any.
Item 10, oops, I'm sorry.
Do we have an update on current towing policy?
What?
I don't know if we ever
And what kind of,
finalized that.
what policy?
The
Towing policy.
We worked with Central Dispatch, and they're actually implementing the policy there. And Sheriff may be better qualified to directly address that, but my understanding is the agencies contact Central Dispatch or tow if they need it. They maintain the rotation right there at Central Dispatch, which takes our people right out of the equation.
But can we get a copy of that towing policy?
Yeah, I think
So we know
yeah.
that it's being done correctly now, since we had much drama with it before.
Yeah, I don't think we ever seen that finalized. I know you were meeting with your way, the last I believe we heard, you were waiting to meet and collaborate everybody's schedules.
I thought we were supposed to meet and discuss it, but I don't know if Mark ever got contacted, but I never did.
Well, that would have been through,
Law enforcement.
yeah, and 911. I don't know. Ron, did
It's never been mentioned.
policy come before the board, the 911 board?
No, we just had a 911 meeting. I think last night.
I think that then
Discussed.
at least the 911 board, if not the law
Exactly.
board, would have been discussing this, at least in play.
I'll put it in my notes and ask next month.
We'll get a copy of it.
You'll send it to us, Tim?
Yep, sure will.
Perfect. Administrators report.
Okay, start with a quick review of the department head meeting we had on Monday. As we discussed at one of our prior meetings, I did present the COVID-19 plan amendments, as well as a review of a draft policy should the vaccine mandate be upheld in the court. We have not yet heard any final decision on that. If either way the court moves, we are prepared to move consistent with that decision. Obviously, if the mandate is upheld, that will put a little additional work, but we are convinced that we can accommodate the new rules as necessary. We also provided an overtime update. That's the automated payroll system. We do have another training session on that tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It is really wrapping up in terms of all the defining all the variables that will go into the system, and we should be rolling that out pretty soon, or at least testing it. Also brought up the Carnegie course that was discussed at the committee of the whole meeting. Departments were very receptive to it and very receptive to the thought of having that actually held here, which would be way more convenient for all of us. So I'll be following up on that and be bringing back at a future meeting, maybe even the next committee of the whole, some options and costs that go along with that. Our administrative secretary search is entering the interview phase. So next Tuesday, we have 4 interviews scheduled. All of the finalists are identified right now on the iPad. So if you go to that folder, you'll be able to check out the resumes of each of the finalists. Our one of our top 5 candidates is unable to meet with us on Tuesday, which provides us an option now to fill in with our first alternate, which would be our 6th top candidate. We may choose to interview the number 5 on later in the week on Friday when she becomes available, depending on how the other interviews go. We'll see how that pans out. Now, our candidate number 6, the alternate one, does present an opportunity for us to talk about the policy that we have about employment of relatives. The candidate is no longer a relative of anyone, but is a former relative. The policy itself does not prohibit somebody from county employment simply because they're related. If they end up being a top candidate in the top, they're the best candidate, certainly we want to select them, but we do want to disclose that relationship. And this candidate is a former spouse of a county commissioner, but has the credentials, at least on paper, that are necessary to fill the job. So what we'll do is go ahead and proceed with the interviews. If this ends up being the candidate we select, we will probably talk about it one more time before an offer is made.
No longer a relative.
No longer a relative, right? It's enough to just simply disclose at this stage to just out of transparency. So
Absolutely.
we're all aware.
So you'll be, next week are the interviews, the decision, I guess, what's your date as far as?
Decision could be as soon as Tuesday, at least from the group, group of 3. Again, we put those resumes on the iPad for you to look at. If you have any questions about anything, obviously get a hold of me. If you have any interview questions specific that you'd like to have asked, get a hold of me and we'll be happy to work that into the questions.
So I guess I'm not understanding this. I thought we talked about this before. the committee was supposed to break it down to the top 5, and then they would interview the top 5, and then we would be able to review those interviews and make a decision as a whole board. When we hired an administrator, we did it as a whole board. We actually did those interviews as a board. So I'm not real sure why we would make a decision on someone before the board can actually review the interviews.
All right, so that's not consistent with my understanding. So let's make sure that we're all on the same page. My understanding is this is a sub-department level position, one that is not typically brought to the board. We could certainly have interviews in front of the whole board if that's your desire. We would need to do some scheduling and make sure that the candidates are available when the board meets to do that. But now's the time to decide if that's the way the board wants to proceed. That's what we'll do. Otherwise, my understanding was this committee of 3 would hold the interviews and make the selection and bring that decision back at a future meeting of the board so that you're up to date on who was selected.
Well, I guess I don't have a problem with videoing it so that we can review the video and the interviews for scheduling purposes. And that way we don't have to post a meeting in order for those guys to.
We would have to post a meeting. If the board is deliberating toward a decision, you have to have a meeting posted to do that.
Well, we wouldn't make the decision until the meeting.
True, but you would be deliberating toward a decision. That's the key. So you're
Even
talking.
if we're viewing the video individually and we're not talking about it.
You're pushing the envelope. We do have our counsel on Zoom that maybe could help clarify what our obligations would be.
Hi there, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Morning.
So certainly if there are commissioners involved in the interview process that have been designated to a committee, we would want to follow the Open Meetings Act. This sounds like a potential workaround if you just wanted to simply review the interviews. I don't know if the interviews are currently being recorded. I'm not familiar with the current composition of the committee if it involves commissioners. I would just point out that one distinction that I would draw between your hiring of a county administrator and an executive assistant is that the county administrator reports directly to the board and then typically would be responsible for all employees at the department level and below in responsibility for administration hiring. So it is not common for me to see below direct report level employees interviewed by the full board of commissioners and then a hiring decision made. That doesn't mean you can't. It just would be a little unusual from my perspective.
Well, I guess what I was under the impression that this secretary was not going to be just a secretary for the administrator, but for the entire board as well. So that's why I thought it would make sense for the entire board to make that decision. That's just my opinion.
I understood it the same way Brad did. I don't have an issue with how it's being done by any means, but that is how I did understand it as far as how the process was going to be done. Again, I don't have a desire to play a role in this. I have reviewed the candidates. I reviewed everything you put on the iPad. It is also how I understood it, but I don't have a preference as far as playing a role in this going forward.
Well, I'm the one that brought up involving the personnel committee, and the reason I did that, if it's an elected official, we don't, the personnel committee and the board of directors or board of commissioners do not get involved in interviewing or applying applications for their office. Say like Breck's office.
Mhm.
When she's hired 3 people in there, we didn't have any involvement in the application, the interviewing, or anything. We approved the positions approved. Now, when it came to the assistant for the administrator, because he's not an elected official, and I thought it'd be good to have the personnel committee be involved because it'd be a check and balance. When I have been involved in the personnel committee and hiring, it was zoning administrator, it was equalization director. Bruce Reitz and I did that. Same with the zoning administrator and IT also. These are not elected positions. They're not elected offices. So the personnel committee represented the board and took the applications, did the interviews, and made a recommendation to the board to hire. So I just thought that this administrator, secretary, that would just provide a check and balance for that. And that's where it's at. I mean, really, you know, the personnel committee put the equalization director in. Since then, he has gone out and hired without the board of commissioners being involved in the hiring process. And I expect that. I expect that because we hired the department head. We're not involved with hiring everybody below that. And that's different than the elected official position, because elected official, that's an entity in themselves, even though we are the check and balance for the entire thing.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if you're necessarily comparing apples to apples. I mean, you're talking about different departments that have management and supervisors. This individual, this position is obviously working with Tim, but is also working directly with us. Those other individuals that you just discussed are not working directly with us. Again, I don't have a problem with how this is being done at all, but I don't know if that analogy is.
Okay, well, I'm just explaining how the personnel committee has operated in the past and how, to what extent. And really, if you're going to expand on that, and yes, that's how it's explained, this person would operate with us. I just think that this person, it's just a committee approach to selection, just using committees to do it.
I think our legal counsel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's Matt, correct? What's your last
Yes.
name?
Yep, Nordfjord.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to practice that. I try to be respectful and say Mr., but I might have to go with Mr. Matt.
Well, yeah, and I have some other attorneys on here just for introduction that have some long names too. Please feel free to refer to us by our first names.
I try
I
to
just
be
wanted to be,
respectful.
I just had a clarification question. Are these current applicants being reviewed by the personnel committee and being interviewed there? Or is that what you're trying to determine? I heard a committee review at some point early on in the discussion. I just want to be clear if that's an internal, not a formal board committee, or if it's a formal board committee.
It's a former board committee. This, myself and Mr. Serbrook are the two appointed or
Commissioners,
commissioners
And then-
that sit on the personnel committee. Now with the county administrator in place, he is also on that personnel committee.
Okay, so if that committee is meeting to interview applicants and narrowing them down and making a recommendation, it is subject to the Open Meetings Act because you're performing a governmental decision making. So from the original discussion point, which is whether or not that meeting would need to be posted for those interviews, the answer is yes. I don't know if that changes the process for having other members show up, but if it's posted, anybody could be there. They may not be voting on the recommendation or part of the discussion unless recognized by the chair, but I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that committees, subcommittees of the board that are performing those functions are subject to the Open Meetings Act.
In fact, that doesn't change any of it, anything we've got. In fact, we're gonna hold the interviews right in conference room A, so we're all.
Well, in that case, then any other commissioner can come to it, right? And would just be operated.
is Zoom going to be available or no?
It can be. I don't know how comfortable the candidates would be with that, but it certainly can be.
Anything else? I had a question on, you had a meeting with the department heads related to the possibility of the mandates. That's
Right.
correct.
Right.
No department heads or supervisors voiced concerns as far as losing, if this goes forward, losing employees
wasn't expressed at the meeting. If there are concerns, I think the general consensus in the room was if it's mandatory, then we simply have to do it. Do whatever the rule says. And of course, it's vaccine or testing the way it's been described so far. But we're just in a holding pattern, waiting for that final decision on which way it's going to go.
And we're gonna wait till the very end, until the decision is brought down from the Supreme Court, correct?
Right. And recall that there has been publications that state, we're not going to be required on the next day to actually have everything in place, but we do need to be making progress to that end state. I don't think it's going to take us that long to comply because we have some things in the queue ready to go if we need to, but we're not going to have to do it the next day. And recall that this would then impact also our coronavirus plan, so that whatever we decide on in terms of that draft policy that you had at the last meeting, we'll want to incorporate that right into the plan so that everything is consistent.
Before this is finalized, this has to be brought back to the board for
Right,
approval,
yes.
correct?
Right. Yep, this is policy.
If they do mandate this, are they gonna reimburse us for the extended costs?
Good question. Really good question.
I mean, if they're gonna mandate something, then,
I mean, there was some question, it would really come down to the testing requirement and the weekly testing. The employees may be required to make that payment out of pocket. I don't know. I don't have a clear answer yet.
It's been kind of interesting. I discussed this with you, Tim. I went to my townships within the past week or two and brought this up to them. Because obviously not placing a vote as far as from a personal perspective, but how my constituents feel about this. And at two of my townships, they were exact opposite from one another. It was quite interesting on these mandates. So
I can say on the expense side, there is a new, what you call it, a rule or whatever, but insurance will cover up to 4 of these tests, I understand, per month. So if that's the case, then all of our, obviously full-time employees anyway would be insured. This will be submitted to insurance. We do, if the reporting requirements do come into play, MESA, our primary insurance coverage for most of our employees, has an app on the phone that will help us not only help the employee to check in to show that they have the test, but maintain that database for us. So we won't have to do a whole lot internally. But at least there's a record that we'll have access to should we end up being audited for our compliance. We'll have that documented.
anything else, Tim?
Yeah, 2 other things briefly. I was contacted by Senator Stabenow's office and asked to participate in a regional infrastructure Zoom conference on the 20th, next Thursday. So at the committee of the whole on Thursday, I'll get to report out on whatever we learned from that. And then finally, just an update on the rebonding for the correctional facility. We have a ratings call on the 24th. This is important. The treasurer and I will sit in on this. This is literally Standard & Poor's calling us and asking about policies, asking about the local economy and our demographics. And they use this information to help formulate the rating that we'll end up having to do the rebond itself. We did have what we thought was going to be potential event this week that would have caused us to delay. We learned that we did not have a qualifying statement but on file with Department of Treasury, but that was addressed within 24 hours, to my amazement, to a positive outcome. So we have a qualifying statement now on record with the Department of Treasury in Lansing, so we can certainly move forward. Our scheduling is by the end of May. Hopefully this will all be behind us and we'll be saving about $25,000 a year on that bond.
It's huge.
So that's it.
With this secretary position, I was looking at the information that Max sent on January 7th. There's quite a bit of monies that are available. I see there was a broadband for 1.15 billion. There's a fire and emergency response for 560 million, and there's an urban water restoration flood plan for 2.65 million. And I looked a little closer into that urban water restoration flood plan. It almost seems like our our Rifle River District might fall into this, is this individual going to be applying for these grants, for these funds, and that's a lot of monies, and that was just posted on January 7th.
That position could certainly be assigned the research to find out what we need to do to qualify for that. And then we would bring all that information to a committee of the whole most likely and gauge the board's feeling about applying for some of those grants. Some of them will have matching dollar requirements. Obviously, that would have to get approved. But right, I mean, that's certainly one of the areas that we want to have explored, not just there, but any kind of grant opportunity that's out there.
Well, the water restoration, I think it was a city, I could be wrong with the city of West Branch. I think they were talking about replacing some pipes and that definitely falls underneath this water restoration flood plan. That was one of the key elements to that. So,
yeah.
Anyways. Great. Nothing else?
Nope.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to know, are we going to Zoom the interviews? Are we gonna videotape them? We're already going to have to post them.
If you would like them Zoomed, we will.
Well, I'm just thinking, just like your comment, the candidates themselves, I think we should let them know if they're going to be on video or not.
Absolutely.
I think that's, so I think if the board wants these things videoed, then I think we should know that today. I don't see any reason to do it, but if somebody else would like it done, I think now's the time to say it. So that we can get this notice to these people.
Mr. Serbrook, your opinion?
I'm good either way.
That's a good opinion. Commissioner Scott.
Well, it's going to be posted as an open meeting. If you want to attend, you
Yeah,
can
if somebody wants
attend.
to attend, they can attend, so.
But no, I don't see any need that we have to. I think it's gonna put some people
That's my concern.
off kilter and maybe we won't get the real interview that we want.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Like you say, I would just post it and I don't think I'd do Zoom. You say, I think that would probably upset some people.
Commissioner Becker?
I agree with Ron on that. I think posting it would be good enough. I don't think you'd have to go with Zoom if any of the candidates are, not willing to do that.
Okay. I think you got your majority.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner Scott?
No.
Okay. Item 11, elected official and department head reports. I'm going to ask that when you guys are giving your reports to come up to the microphone. I was on Zoom here in the last 2 meetings and it was a little hard to hear. I could hear you pretty clearly, Brock, because of these, but I had difficulty hearing others. So just when you're giving your report, can you guys come up to the podium, to the microphones?
I agree. When I was on Zoom, same thing, and we've heard that from other people.
Yeah, so I am going to request.
I'm going
Quick.
to stay though.
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
we have
You're
microphones.
good.
Unless you want to.
No, I'm good. So my office is anticipating a May election. So I met with he's basically the regional manager of Election Source, who is the company that we use for our election equipment and all that. He came and we had a good meeting. Did a little bit of training, and he's going to come back and train my office with all the new people coming in. We're going to have a training for the townships. Don't have a date yet for that set up, but that's the plan. Other than that, we're just business as usual, busy.
Well, it's not as usual. You're missing
Well,
somebody.
as our usual right now.
Okay. Yeah, you're missing a key person in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else? Treasurer?
Karen Pawlowski, your Ogemaw County Treasurer. Our office is currently processing billings and payments to the local units for the December Board of Review. We are reviewing potential foreclosure properties because foreclosure comes March 31st. So we're reviewing properties with high delinquencies, looking for resources to help them, help the homeowner keep their home, come up with payment plans. MISHDA, through a new program labeled MIHA, Michigan Housing Assistance, is going to launch a program in February through ARPA funding to assist homeowners with rent, mortgage payments, utilities, back taxes. So once that launches, we'll be able to give another resource to homeowners to help out with the delinquent taxes. And that's all I have at this time.
How will the MISHDA programs be conveyed to the public?
So they are going to be giving me resource materials and phone numbers. And as we wait on customers with delinquencies who are struggling financially, affected by COVID, they have to meet certain eligibility requirements as far as financial hardship directly related to COVID after January 21st, 2020, increased expenses due to COVID. There's a lot of factors they would have to qualify for. But they're going to give us the resources and tools to help filter out and figure out if those customers need the eligibility and get the assistance that they need.
I have a couple of renters on
Do you?
MISHDA already.
Okay, I'll get you the materials once it launches in February.
So if there's an increased chance, because here in this county, it's been a waiting list for years to get on to MISHDA. Some other counties are different.
Sure. I'll get the resources to you.
The owner, like myself, cannot sign people up. They have to do it
But if
themselves.
we give you the materials and you
Right.
present your renter, then they can reach out for that assistance and get those dollars back in our community to help the people that need it.
When was your next land bank meeting? I know you could,
February 9th,
do you have a time on that?
10 o'clock,
Just in case any townships ask me. And it's, where is it at?
right here, conference room A.
Okay.
Public is welcome. Encourage them to come because I feel that this is a community effort to clean up these properties, regardless of what township or city the properties are in. I think it takes all of us to help clean up our community countywide.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Sheriff, can you come on up?
Morning.
Good morning.
I apologize. I just got this done this morning. Sorry about that, Tom. Works too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll briefly go over that.
Be sure to get a copy. Well, be sure to get a copy to the clerk so she can put it
Absolutely. I've got one here. I'll give it to him.
in the historical.
That is the stats. If the top column on the left side is December stats. And on the right side of the top column is the year 2021 totals. The things that we've got listed. And on the bottom column, same thing. December stats on the left. On the right is a total of 2021, and that started in March, so that's not a true accurate statistic.
2021 started in March.
Yeah. So there's a few months there that's not in there because this is when we started this charting. So anyway,
It's based on a fiscal year though.
yeah.
I mean, so 2021 is only a half a year.
Yeah, but I'm from January is what I was talking, January to January.
She's doing calendar year.
Yeah, that's what I do, calendar, and we can tweak, that's not a big deal, I mean, this is.
Well, as long as we know, but it's titled December
Yeah,
2021, so
yeah.
the totals are,
I was looking at it as the calendar year, basically.
okay, the left total, does that
that's the-
include December?
That's the monthly, and then that's
Right,
year to date.
so the monthly on the
Yeah.
left is
Yeah.
from January 1 of this year to now,
No, on the left
on the
is
left.
just December's stat.
The bold on the left is
Yeah.
where it says total, going down the left column, this column.
Oh, it has
Yeah,
nothing to
that's-
do with 2022
That's
yet.
monthly,
Okay,
and then that's cumulative
All right,
from
all right.
March
Beginning
To
of March.
December 30.
Okay,
To now.
all right.
Right,
All
to
right.
December 31st.
And we'll tweak that. I mean, this is our first
Of course.
go around.
Of
So
course.
anyway, you look at the township patrol hours. That's not bad. It really isn't bad. I think we're gonna get better because we got more staffing. So we'll get more patrol time there. And you gotta realize that that's just designated time spent. That does not include the time that they go in them townships and do complaints. So cars still being seen in there over and above what's listed here.
That's
Makes sense.
cool routine patrol time. Not complaint time. That's the
Designated.
time that they're actually just cruising the streets
Yeah.
and doing the
They're
thing.
hitting all the back roads and they're being seen.
But-
And I've been hearing from our people that they're seeing a car. And they're gonna see more because we're gonna get the statting up, and the stats are, or I'm sorry, the staffing is gonna be up, so we'll do better there. Anyway, I was pretty pleased to see that. I think that's pretty good.
But like Cummings is 0, but you could have had 10 complaints in there.
Exactly.
So you could have been in that
Yeah.
township 10
Yeah.
different times.
Exactly.
You just were
Yeah.
there for something else. But like, kind of like I said before, once they're done with the complaint, it's kind of like cruise out.
Yeah.
So if they cruise out and snake around a little bit,
Yeah, but they feel they're not really doing what they're told to do. They're going in there, do the complaint, get out. But still, I mean, the car is still there. So, any questions on that?
I just don't want people in Cummings, Hill, Logan, see a report like this and go, they're never here. You
Hey, I
know?
live in Logan.
But
I'm
they
good
are.
with that 0.
Right, for December.
Good.
Well, that might be.
But you know, we got a total of 24 hours, but we go through Logan all the time. I mean, 55 goes
Right.
right through there, you know?
Right.
And then off roads, we have to take the shortcut up there to get up to South Branch or Lupton. So we are in Logan, no doubt.
So you are if you're going to.
But this is basically just beat the back streets, back roads. We want to be seen.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, it's just like you went to Goodart twice, 2 hours in patrol in Goodart. You had to go through Hill to get there.
True.
So you
Well-
patrol through Hill then,
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I mean,
you know?
we're being seen.
Oh, yeah, you are. And you
Yeah.
know, and you know, I've told you that.
I know, yeah.
But, you know, if you're driving through Hill to patrolling Goodart, then put down that you drove through Hill. Right? You did patrol through it to get there.
It'll be interesting to see like next month comparing this top with, since night patrol is up and running, comparing
Yeah,
this.
yeah. And that's with no night patrol either.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, you did start half a road
You had
patrol in
half.
December.
Sort of, kind of.
Right, yeah. But anyway, the stats will be better next year.
Thank you very much for them.
I've got some other things.
Good.
Got time?
Yep.
Yeah, we have plenty of time all day.
All right, my undersheriff is working remotely from home. Okay. He's under the weather. He's available through Zoom and whatever. We're constantly calling each other, so that he's home sick. Just so you all know that. We had a little glitch in our ORV academy. We were going to send an individual to that academy with a pre-test. He failed in one portion of that, so he wasn't qualified to go to that academy. Our plan is, and that academy started January 10th, so our plan is, if it's still on the table, I think it's a great move to do that, designate that individual to the ORV. If it's still on the table in August, I would like to have you try that pre-test again. A lot of that pre-testing is mental, and I don't think there's a lot of time for him to prepare himself for that. Although he did have a problem, but a lot of it is mental. If your mental isn't right when you go into that pre-test, you're not probably going to pass. Okay? It's a lot of pressure. So anyway, just to get you up to speed there.
Is Michigan Works gonna have the funding
I'm
available?
hoping.
Okay.
I'm surely hoping. And I'm gonna stretch my neck out and say they will. I'm hoping. So we'll see. Yeah, definitely.
So do you have to communicate with them?
Our coat drive is today. And that's from 3 to 6. Drop off is at the Moose, State Road, West Branch. Our night patrol is doing real well. They're out there doing what they're supposed to, and I sat in my chair at home and I got my radio right beside me and I'm listening to what's going on. Just not to micromanage them, but I want to make sure they're safe and things are running well. So what I'm hearing, I'm like,
I would like to personally compliment officers Knopfsinger, May, and Killingbeck for their nice response in taking down a huge ORC criminal a couple weeks ago. So just wanted to extend my thank you to that.
And night patrol, what I've been reporting to the townships, they're 24/7. I'm correct on that, right? Perfect.
run.
Okay.
We're up and running. We're in the early stages, and I say very, very early stages of resource officer with Whitmore Prescott. We're just ground level. I'm talking to the supervisor over there, so. And the reason why I think it's very, very important to have a resource officer there at Whitmore, because on a good day, we're 20 minutes away from that school. On a good day. If we happen to be on Sage Lake and Mills, we're still 5 minutes away at least. So you got to remember, time is of the essence when you're talking school shooting. So we're on a very early stages. Hoping I can get that off the ground. And if we get real closer, I'll bring it to you folks. So you know where we're at. Any questions on that?
You're just in preliminary discussions.
Yeah,
with-
just
So it's
just ground
just
zero.
in the very beginning stages of discussion with.
I reached out to the supervisor there after our shooting in Michigan, Oxford there. I'm very concerned about that school. It's out in the middle.
It's all in the middle of nowhere.
And it scares me, it really does.
But that's a money issue.
It is, and they can, possibly they can get that money out of that at-risk fund too, that Heights is with. We're seeing what we can do there. Roadside pickup, I'm hoping to get that off the ground this spring. Got the back in front of the what my plan is to pull some correctional, some inmates out of there, and not the same inmates all the time. Get them out in these streets, picking up trash. Have my transport team watching them, and we will mix up the roads. It's not going to be a routine thing. The people coming out of there is not going to be routine, so I don't want no family members planting something in the ditch and then they pick it up and bring it back. So we switch up the roads. We're just not consistent. Make this program happen. And the key to that is to make sure they get supervision. Supervision is huge. I don't want my transport guy with a stick in his hand picking up trash. His job is to watch and observe that nothing is wrong. So anyway, we'll get that up and running hopefully. I had the opportunity of.
Do you want me to wait and get everything, or should I pick? Should I pick when we go? Do you have like one problem we had in the past with this crew thing is the ratio of inmates to supervision.
Right.
You know as well as I do. I don't have to explain it. What happened at the fair the last time? You know.
I seen it with my own eyes.
Yes, you did. Yeah, and
That's why this is gonna be.
one
totally
guy
different.
and spread all over. I think what you're talking here is a modern chain gang.
People love that.
That's okay.
People drive
Oh
by
yeah.
and says,
Oh, absolutely.
He's working for me because he deserves to be there.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely. So
hopefully we can deter them from doing it again.
oh yeah, yeah. And I imagine they like to get out there and everything else, but you know, I just want to make sure that I want to make sure it succeeds because
Oh, yeah.
twice it's been tried and twice it's got shot down and not by this board either.
I know.
Well,
You know,
I think I agree. That's a good program. It just needs to be supervised and maybe having them integrated into a high population is probably not a great idea. But on the side of the roads, in the parks, and
It'll
in
work.
places where they can supervise them. And I think that, picking the supervisor is important. And if you do that, then yeah, I fully support it.
Well, even the ball fields like they were doing, but not when there's ball games going.
I was totally against this, and maybe I shouldn't even say this, but I was totally against to have an inmate with children there. They need to be separated. You don't put an orange suited guy with our children. That's my feelings on it. And that will never happen, nor I don't even think I'd even want them out at the ball field unless there's nobody there.
Maybe during the day, doing grounds work and stuff like that.
And that wasn't part of the program though, so that, I'd have to move forward a little bit at a time, little steps, because this is just basically roadside service. Pickup. So I'm hoping to get there, but baby steps and the right supervision.
Well, you know what's gonna happen as soon as you get people out there, you're gonna get calls from townships and
Oh, I know.
and library and
I know.
all these other ones that
I know.
had people before, they're gonna call you up
I
and say,
know.
how do I get these people,
I've already had people try to.
Oh, I'll bet you have. I'll bet you have.
But
I'll
it's
bet you all
really not up,
campaign time.
it's not up to me, it's gonna be up to our judges,
Right.
I was gonna say, wasn't that program stopped by the judge?
Yes.
The
Twice.
final time
Oh, yeah.
was stopped. So that will have to go through their approval before it's brought to us, correct?
I'm sorry.
They will have to re-approve this before it's brought to us?
I've already got documentation signed by them.
Oh, okay.
to
I
run
missed
with
that.
it.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Right.
I'm
Right, because they're in
pretty good
charge,
there.
they're ultimate in charge of the inmate, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
where
gonna
we-
step on their toes, trust me.
Where we come in is any expense that this program would come, and that'd be like your supervision.
Wages for the super.
And manpower. I mean, we have to make sure we have the manpower to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hauling them around and everything like that, so. Yeah, I'd like to see it work.
Oh,
I
me
don't want
too.
to see it fail like it did before, because,
Well, if it
that's a
doesn't work, I
bad
get the
mark.
black eye, and I'm.
Well,
not
yeah,
here to
I
get a
know.
Black eye, let me
well,
tell you.
no,
Okay, so,
I know.
But yeah,
But even then, we get a black eye, even though
I
we
know
don't
you
have
do,
much
yeah.
to do with it.
and I'm watching out for that too.
Gee whiz.
I had the opportunity of sharing a night with Craig, our Commissioner Edwards in Horton Township this Monday. And also I attended Mills Township too, where I give my report on the fire report and also a report on our night patrol. So we're abreast of what's going on there. Tuesday, we interviewed an individual, looks pretty good. My undersheriff wasn't there to do the interview, but I got to sit down with him and go over to the interview that we Lieutenant Castleman did. So,
Position for
just for to fill
a
that.
deputy?
Yeah.
Oh, so then you'll be full, right?
No, we have another one.
Oh.
We have another position, but we just don't want to get a bunch in there because I only got so many training officers. So. And see if I got anything else. I think that's it. Any questions?
Plan B for ORV, the reason we
Yeah.
okayed this in January or in December was because we did not have an M-Coles certified officer in ORV. ORV season really is gonna start in April, because as soon as snow is off, they're gonna be running. So do you have a plan B yet?
Well, we got them deputies that's on standby and we're gonna meet with them. And see
Okay.
If we can fill them hours, we've got to get it done. You know, so that's Plan B, and quite frankly, I think we can make it work.
Okay, because we're talking ORV ordinance right now.
I know.
And the biggest question when I go to the township meetings is enforcement. They talk about hours, they talk about speed, they talk about everything else. But the key thing is who's gonna enforce the rules? And I say the sheriff office. So last year you did not have as much onto it. You told us that in December. We're on board with you because we passed spending this person to have an enclosed officer. So I'd really like to hear a plan B to what's gonna happen. Are we gonna fulfill the hours? You said to the townships that we got more ORV money this year, so let's
Yeah.
put it in enforcement.
Well, let me get my undersheriff back up and running.
Okay.
Sit down with him.
All right.
And there's another individual that we're kind of looking at too, so.
Okay.
We'll see what we can do.
If I can throw this out, the discussion you and I had the other day. Sheriff and I were talking about one of your concerns, people on the quote roster. We talked about having those officers commit to a minimum number of hours per year
To remain on the list.
to remain as part-time officers, because otherwise what's happening is, quite frankly, the sheriff is just keeping their certification going so they don't lose their certification. If they don't dedicate X amount of hours, why should they reap the benefit and the county not reap any benefit from it?
Absolutely.
You know, to me, it's a give and take. If we're gonna keep your certification valid through qualification, then you need to take and commit to X amount of hours that you're willing to take and work. And if you don't, then sayonara.
That should be a policy.
And that's, we just, the sheriff and I just had that discussion. He kind of brought it up and I was happy to hear that. So we had I think a good discussion. We haven't, and Paul was ill, so, I think we all need to get together, you guys do, and then say, here's the minimum commitment of X amount of hours per year, and if you don't, we're dropping it.
And that's fair. That is.
I mean, it's, like I said, it's a give and take. Why should they reap the benefit of being able to retain their certification if they're not gonna take and put any time into the county?
Yeah, they're coming to our qualification, our range qualifying. It costs money to them, but shoot. And we need to get something back out of that. So I think it's a fair deal. I know if I was in that position, if I was retired and the sheriff was gonna keep me on, I would definitely do something. So we're gonna explore that. And Paul and I have already talked about that. So
We had a good discussion about it. I just wanted to let you guys know that we've had that discussion. So I know it's been a concern of, quote, who's on that roster and what benefit are we getting from them? So,
Right, like in the healthcare world, in order to stay per diem, we have to work 1 or 2 shifts per month.
To carry that certification,
For anything, to stay on their roster
to stay on the right.
whatsoever, you have to work a
That's
minimum of
that's a
1,
good program.
depends on the institution, 1 to 2 shifts per month.
One question I got, school resource officer. You've heard me in the past. I think that the schools should be paying for this officer 12 months a year. That's my opinion. That's the way I have voted. Okay. So if we're taking on another one and we're gonna do the same and mirror the same contract where we have with the other school district, then we're taking on another officer for 4 months of the year that we will pay for. Okay, if the school's only gonna pay for them for the months that they're in the school, then you're committing that we have to allocate another spot for another deputy 4 months a year. Understand what I'm saying? See, there's no allocation for another officer right now, in addition to what the number is now. So, I just assumed these schools pay for the officer 12 months a year. That's my opinion on it.
I'm sorry.
Because we're just taking on another person.
I see Craig's point, but I also, my whole thing is as long as we have officers available to do it and still maintain our road patrol 24 hours a day, I'm fine with it, but I mean, that person that's a resource officer could end up being a ORV or
I was waiting for everybody to
Supplement,
stop. And
you
that's
don't
what I
put
was
4
gonna
months
say.
with ORV, Marine Patrol.
Well, I'd have to hear the plan.
Yep.
We'd have to look at the dollars, obviously, but I mean, and right now, this thing with Whittemore Prescott's just in the very beginning discussion stage, so I think we're, you know, Craig brings up some valid concerns, but I think we're putting cart before the horse.
Yep.
You know, long range
Well-
planning, let's keep it in the back of our mind if it comes to fruition, you know, so we know.
Well, I'd rather bring it up now because I can imagine, I'm going to make a prediction that all of a
Could be
sudden
last minute.
in August, this question is gonna come in front of us.
Mhm.
And school starts in 2 weeks. And I'm gonna have that same question at the end of the next 9 months. Who's paying for this one to stay? Now, you made the point, if we can do it the same staffing, he's not gonna come to us. He's not gonna come to us and say, I'm gonna put a resource officer on and take it out of the staffing I have now. He's gonna ask for another position. I mean, this is not a personal thing, it's business.
Very early.
You're gonna ask for you're gonna ask for another allocation of a person. I mean, you're just not gonna take it out of your roster.
Well, we can cross that road when we get there.
Okay, but
One comment on,
write it down,
on the minimum
brought
round.
it up in January.
I do think it's important, you know, obviously this is a skilled trade. You guys have to keep up on all your laws and bookwork and know what you're doing on the road when you go out there to work. And I think it's important that they work, you know, a couple shifts or whatever a month. Not to mention they have equipment that we supply them that either isn't being used or, you know, I think it's very important that we keep them in the uniform and
Are you
comfortable.
referring to our part-timers? that-
Yeah, Yeah. This is my opinion.
I agree with the school resource officer. I think every school very much needs this. I'm 100% in favor of this, but we have to remember in this county, we have numerous schools. And we hate to offer assistance from a financial standpoint to Whittemore Prescott when Ogemaw Heights is paying for their, I mean, we're just gonna have to be very careful with our language to make sure we're fair across the board. And if I'm not mistaken, Whittemore Prescott is partial Iasco County as well. They're not just all Ogemaw, correct?
Yeah, my thought process on that is the elementary is actually in Iasco.
Okay.
I was gonna maybe meet with the sheriff over there and, you know, it's like I said, it's really early and maybe apps or something, you know.
Mhm.
I think it's very much needed, but
Yeah, personally, I think that every school in the United States should have a resource. Unfortunately, that's the way our society is now. We shouldn't have to do that, but I think we need to do that. Unfortunately, there's money involved.
is there a way that another individual, is it too late for the academy that another individual could do that?
It already started January 10th and the pre-testing was on the 4th, so yeah, it's too late.
So because the orientation took place before it was brought to us, correct? Is that way it typically, or do they typically do the pre-test and then move forward?
The pre-test will put them into the academy. They have to get through that pre-test first. And like I said, a lot of it is mental. You gotta mentally get yourself in that position to get through that physical agility.
I would think it's both.
It is both. It is both.
I was just wondering time ways, if that was a spot, if now you're able to plug it in with,
No, we're too late now.
Okay.
It's tough. It is a tough, and I'm gonna throw it out there, they changed that pre-testing. Back when I went through that pre-testing, it was a lot harder, tremendously a lot harder, and they kind of tweaked it down, so it's not as hard, but it's still mental. I would say 60% of it is mental. You gotta get a mental, you gotta get the right
Gotta have the right
mind
frame of mind.
to get through that stuff.
it's just, if there was a way for them to complete the testing, because you have those allocated slots, and this happened last time at Delta, because there was originally going to be 3 and it went down to 2, correct?
Right.
So that way, if they failed that, then you could plug somebody else into that position.
I get what you're saying, and that's what I'm gonna try to do for this upcoming. I'm gonna get them ready to go, because I think that lasts for a year. Is it a year? I think it's a year. That pre-testing will be good for a
The
year.
physical agility, yeah.
Yeah,
I believe so.
I think it's a year. So I'm gonna try to
Wow.
get them ready to go. So when when it pops up, I don't have to wait on them
Last minute.
passing this last minute passing, so I'm gonna try to get ahead
So
of it.
that's, I guess, what my question was, is I would think you would be able to do that well before
Yeah.
you actually enter to make sure that you pass and you meet the qualifications to be that slot.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind 8 ball on this with Michigan Works, the way we coordinated this, so yeah, I apologize for that, but we'll get better.
Just
Thank
make
you.
sure you touch base with them to see, make sure that funding's available. You know,
And I talked to the,
if it's not, it's gonna be a game changer, obviously, so.
I spoke to the undersheriff about a new funding opportunity through the state too on retention and recruitment. So there may be opportunity there.
Now, who's gonna seek this out? Would it be the undersheriff?
In this case, it ended up being the department.
Okay.
We'll have to seek it out. No, obviously I'm here to help.
And I
too, but
appreciate the communication that I undershare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other,
Um,
I was gonna
Did our-
let you off the hook.
Did our original motion for this person to go to the academy, was it linked to the date?
Was not. It's more generic that way. So the authorization is still on the books. to
All
send
right.
Somebody.
So it's all, yeah, we don't have to re-motion,
No,
vote to go to another academy.
right. You're all set.
All right, very good. One
you
other,
much.
one
Enjoy
other
your
question. Wait a minute. Now,
You knew
now-
this was
no,
coming.
no, I understand. I'm glad you came forward and I hope to see a representative from the sheriff's department and really all of me, really do. You hear Breck and Karen speak a lot. They represent probably 3-4% of the budget, county budget for each of their departments. Your department's about 40%. So I would say that you get 40% of the time, of our time, you know.
I know I've taken a lot of time up.
No, and that's what it is. And you got it. You sat next to me at township meetings, not only this week, but other times.
Right.
And there's very few questions at all that come out about the treasurer's office or about except, are they sending us another tax bill? But the clerk's office, but the people ask about the sheriff's office all the time. So for you to have a spotlight, the undersheriff's sick at home. Did he get a test? COVID test?
You can't ask that question.
It's a HIPAA
You cannot
violation.
ask that question.
Well, if there is certain reporting requirements here in the county that the administrator needs to get out to everybody if somebody tests positive.
That's only if they've been in one of our facilities.
There's been an exposure.
Okay. All
Exposure.
right, well, I just want to make sure that we're covering our bases. We get seamless docs sent to us about people testing positive that have been inside the building. And I just want to make sure that I don't want to get caught down the road that the department didn't let somebody know. So
Doing okay?
if you want to arrest me on a HIPAA thing, then arrest me, I don't care, but
If a jail. Uh-oh. Actually, one of the interpretations I read,
I don't know.
asking if you've been tested is not a violation of HIPAA. The employer can ask that.
In a public meeting?
Well,
We're the employer.
Yeah.
We're the
It's probably a
employer.
fine line there.
the answer is it can be asked. And as the
Okay.
board, you are an employer, in this case, a co-employer.
Do we have to answer as an elected official?
You're an employer.
As a elected official, no.
They are.
Our attorney's on the
She's an
phone.
employer.
Mr. Matt, can you answer that?
Sure. So yes, Tim is correct. It's not a violation of HIPAA to inquire of vaccine status or if somebody's tested. The issue becomes if they have a diagnosis, and that type of information should be on a need to know basis to the employer. So that could be something that could be provided as an individual report confidentially to you as the employing body. But elected officials are not employees. They are separate constitutional officers. The undersheriff is a unique relationship. He is appointed and serves at the pleasure of the sheriff. So I think that before we render a final opinion on that, we should probably know a little bit more information. But generally speaking, inquiring if somebody is vaccinated or has taken a COVID test is okay. The information about whether or not they're COVID positive, though, should be kept confidential.
Thank you. Anything else?
Greg?
I may not get arrested today then, huh?
He's arrested.
No, I don't have anything else. Thank you. Thank you for coming up here.
Jeff, on the phone from veterans, do you have any updates or reports to provide to us?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
MSU?
Yeah, hi, good morning. I just a quick updates. Firstly, my position as interim director has changed, and I have accepted the position to be director for MSU Extension District 4, which includes Ogemaw County. So I'm excited to tell you that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My official start date for that role is February 1st, but that's just more of a contractual thing. I'm staying in the role until that official role begins. So there won't be any gap in me being here. Just a quick update. Now is the season where we have our volunteers recertifying and renewing background checks, which is part of our volunteer screening process. We have clubs getting started for the year. The Beef Club is already active here in Ogemaw County. We have new volunteers coming on board as well as those renewing volunteers. We're going to have a special interest club around astronomy, which will be starting soon. And we just continue to be active in working with the community through our nutrition and health programs, including the end of a series that has been going with Ogemaw Heights High School for peak health performance, which student athletes about nutrition and how that fuel them to, perform at their best. And that education series is ending this week, but the opportunity exists to continue to have those resources. Involved in a prescription for health education program with older adults, where older adults can earn vouchers to use to buy free vegetables at local businesses. And then on the research, education, and support for agriculture side, Phil Durst is very active. He usually gives me a monthly update, which sometimes is less than 3 pages, but most of the time is at least 3 pages. He's involved in a whole lot of work with local farms, with area farms on dairy and beef production, also working to maintain high quality of production with beef and dairy, and also try to address issues of animal viruses like bovine leukemia virus, trying to reduce that, trying to understand how we can be better stewards of resources like antibiotics. And also he's mentoring a number of graduate students at Michigan State who are benefiting from his experience, but are using the labs of the farms here in Ogemaw County and the area, the larger area that Phil serves, to help with their education and advance in their career. We're very, very proud of the work that Phil is doing with that. And he also gives us updates about his role working with the Economic Development Corporation in Ogemaw County, and we're really grateful for that. So if there are questions that I can answer for any of you, please don't hesitate to reach out, or I'm happy to address any questions you may have now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other elected officials or department heads on the phone? Okay, item 12, matters from the floor. Don't believe there are any. Item 13, motions for adoption. I also don't believe that there are any. Item 14, committee reports. Commissioner Vaughn.
Had a few meetings. 911 met, one member resigned due to health issues. We're looking at new members, couple of their terms expired at the end of the year, and with the redistricting of the areas, there will be some changes there coming. Went to Cummings Township, happened to meet with Mr. Mike Hoadley. He's running for the new state rep. He's actually the mayor down in All Gray. Really nice guy, really nice guy. We had a good conversation. Met with Rose Township. Big thing up to Rose Township was their dump was inspected and they have to do some cleanup with some brush and some concrete that has to be removed and whatnot. But with the snow and ice on, it's a little tough this time of the year. Parks and Rec met. We're taking bookings for 2022 for campsites. I think there was one seasonal site left out of the 10. And then the showers, the bathrooms will be retiled in the next month. Met with emergency management, Mike Bowers, Mike, Mr. Anthony Bear, and myself are working on the hazard mitigation plan. Quite an extensive plan. It needs to be updated. And once it's updated, it will be brought to the commissioners. I believe you have to approve and sign. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Newbecker?
I had some correspondence with Mike Bowers as well regarding GPS system, emergency response software. And we also talked about a different or an upgrade to the emergency response plan. Didn't get into a great discussion about it, but further discussion will be coming. That's all I had.
Commissioner Serbrook?
Attended West Branch City Council meeting, the Commission on Aging in West Branch Township. Of course, the hot button topic is the River River drain and what options may be available. And I had some, unfortunately, at this point, I can't tell you what those options might be. I did inform them about the Freedom of Information Act request that we provided and stuff. So I told them I would keep them up to date as things progress. I kind of passed on a little bit of the opinion on the community millage opinion that we got from the attorney in regards to what the procedures might be for that. And obviously, probably going to learn more about that today. So. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Scott?
I attended three of my township meetings, Edwards, Horton, and Foster. All talked about ARPA. All talked about border review coming up and training for that. Edwards, I did get a chance to meet the candidate, but Mr. Vaughn got to meet Mike Hoadley, and I was pretty impressed with the guy. I invited him to our meetings, told him the dates and the days of the month and the times, everything like that. I guess I wasn't I didn't know about the change of our state representative district. It has changed significantly, yes, big time. I mean, matter of fact, what we pulled out now, we're joined a whole different, it's altogether different. And I mean, we're with Gladwin County back again, and that hasn't been for well over 25 years, I think, something like that. And then Iosco, Aranac, yeah, I mean, so it puts me right on the edge of the outside now instead of the inside where I live. So that was that may make some changes as far as funding coming from the state. I was able in Horton and Edwards, I was able to sit next to the sheriff in both those meetings. That was an honor.
Thanks.
And he said some very nice things about but our commission, and I told him I appreciated that. Up to Foster, their fire department is applying for a DNR matching grant. They're sending some first responders to training. I brought up the ORV ordinance, the lack of input from them so far. And they had a lot of discussion about it, and they pretty much want to, their board is saying, keep it the same as it is now. As restrictive as it is. So that's where it was. I went to a road commission meeting. They had a couple of different things. Representatives of Logan Township were there talking about a couple of different roads. They put out their engineering services for bid. They hired Lampum again. As of January 5th, they have used 35.2% of the maintenance road money spent. They had an issue with an employee on where a residency issue. They have a policy in place about where their employees can live outside, how far away from the county. And there was something there they had to come up with there. Yeah, there was, and then Parks and Rec. Ron pretty much explained that. Like he said, there's one seasonal left out of 10. Nine seasonals have already signed up and paid for next year. NEMSCA sent a 211 report. This is a 211 phone thing that's out there available. Yeah, well, that's so far. I have one more township next week and airport next week also. Thank you.
I attended Richland, Logan. I missed Mills. And I also attended the security meeting by Zoom. I was off for a touch because I did test positive for COVID. And then
I didn't ask.
I did. So be in quarantine for a bit. And then I also took a quick little hunting trip. So anyways, Richland and Logan, same type of subject matters. They discussed the ARPA funds, the Board of Review. They're sending some individuals, both boards, for some updates and some training. The Rifle Drainage District obviously is a hot topic to them. Logan, yes, the roads, that culvert continues to be a topic, along with garbage pickup. That individual, the representative who's running for the state representative from Gray, was at Logan Township as well. I introduced himself and took questions. Richland Township, they have to do some ordinance updates related to that marijuana facility over there. That was the only other thing that they discussed. The security meeting was yesterday morning. It's on different mornings now because of Judge Bennett's schedule. He was there. They had a threat that I believe we all, back in December, that I believe we all heard about. They discussed that briefly and discussed some changes going forward that need to take place in case that does happen again. Talked about the x-ray machine out there is not working. Sounds like they're gonna have somebody in to possibly get some cost.
Right, we'll be investigating a maintenance agreement for that, just like we would a computer.
Because we got that from Roscommon
Right.
County. So he said it's kind of a 60%. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The other thing is Mr. Bowers from Emergency Management was there and talked about a grant for security cameras for the building. So it does sound like there's gonna be quite a bit of funding available for that, but that's definitely on the to-do list. So I think, and Tim was present. Did I miss anything there?
Right, yeah, we've got some training opportunities for department heads, and it looks like in March, a good part of our meeting will be dedicated to that.
think that's all that I have. So item 15A, general public comment, Mr. Brian Harrison. Brian Harrison is Executive Director of Therapy Services, asked to address the board under public comment with regard to the Auto No Fault Reform Act of 2019, rules for speaking as presented in Agenda 5. Item 5, in Agenda Item 5 shall apply. Good morning, Mr. Harrison.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Before I begin, just a few minutes. Does everybody know anyone who's been actually impacted or injured in a catastrophic auto accident?
Numerous.
And okay, thank you. I'd like to start there just because it seems to be a topic that not everyone I think thinks of unless you're directly aware of or know someone. So big picture. So I'm again with AdvisaCare Home Health. We operate across the state. We work with Medicare, Medicaid, veterans, work comp, and also care for folks who've been injured in auto accidents. One of the things we, along with many others across the state, certainly are in favor of the reduction of auto insurance rates for Michigan drivers. Our rates are almost the highest or the highest in the country, which is tough to swallow. And so we were optimistic with the 2019 Reform Act that those rates, there would be some relief for drivers. And to some degree there has been, as long as I believe drivers are selecting lower levels of coverage, which again is cool, right? Cool that drivers can make choices for what works best for them and their families, giving the weight of their understanding of what's happening. One thing that we do believe the state legislature may have missed in their due diligence of this law and sweeping change was the impact that the fee cap was going to have on home health and entities outside of the hospital. So what the law does is it allows hospitals, physicians and others to charge up to 200% of what Medicare would reimburse for those same care and services. But anything that Medicare does not apply to is reduced by 45%. Meaning, for us as a home health agency and a company, we do provide care assistance, home health aides, nursing assistance to care for folks with severe brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, et cetera, across the state. On average, we would charge around $30 an hour for that service. With a 45% reduction that we're facing, we're now getting reimbursed between $14 to $16 an hour for that care. And unfortunately, given the employment climate that the state is in, it's hard pressed to find just near anybody to do about anything for less than $15 an hour. We have had multiple conversations with insurance adjusters on the topic and on the issue. And they all say, well, we're paying according with the law. There's nothing we can do. We're only going to be able to pay you $17 an hour, $16 an hour, whatever it is. And so we are working with the state on this issue. Rep. Phil Green has been wonderful to work with, along with many other reps. He is going to be likely introducing a bill next week. This week, yesterday, he has finally gotten a blueback draft, which he's now garnishing co-sponsorship. And so our continued efforts now are to continue to draw awareness to the issue. And what we believe to be, again, a oversight by the legislature in their language of home health and the way that those services are charged and then collected, reimbursed. I have personally met with Senator Kurt Vanderwall, who oversees the district here, along with actually also Representative Dare Rendon. Both seem to be sympathetic, and I do believe both would agree that something needs to be done. We are just continuing to promote the advocacy and kind of what's really going on. Because certainly there was a lot of press from the insurance side, right, of ideas like a 5,000% upcharge on an MRI or something in other areas of the state, like that country down in Detroit, we call it, right? That other country down there. So, so we can all agree that doesn't make sense. And so again, what we're looking at is a linear fix to help support home health care and then the families that depend on it that don't have another option. So we are probably looking at collectively within, I guess, a couple of months needing to discharge the clients that we've continued to care for, and optimism that the state would act to correct something. And so again, today I'm more before you all, and I appreciate the time to simply draw an awareness, but also would encourage you to potentially look at considering adopting some resolution, again, urging the state to focus on this issue. We had Other counties such as Oakland, Wayne County made a public comment, and then most recently Oscoda County had adopted similar resolutions urging the state to address this issue. So,
What home care agency were you from?
Advisor Care. I have a card to
Okay,
chairperson.
Thank you. so you're asking us to adopt a resolution? That's what you're asking.
Considering a resolution to and I'll happy to provide the past resolutions that have been passed as a reference as well. And even from that perspective, we're not asking necessarily for the board to take a position on the Phil Green bill, but more in agreement that, hey, what seems to be going on now, the risk of home health care being eliminated for these patients, and even now for families that are selecting unlimited coverage, there's not a network of home health care that will be able to work with those individuals. So this is truly affecting those that have had policies prior to 2019 and now drivers that are selecting unlimited coverage. I myself personally have to decide at the end of the month to renew my auto insurance. Should I stay on unlimited or not? And I'm tempted not to, because I don't believe doing this work that without a legislative fix, it's going to make a difference. It's kind of a shell of a policy, unfortunately. So
There was information on our iPads.
there was a crap ton. So I did attach, I think, some of our redacted explanation benefits as well, just as data. As we've worked with the state, they've often asked us, what data do you got? Give us your bill, give us this information. I learned early on when I had my first meeting almost a year ago with my local representative, and he'd asked for data, and I thought to myself, gosh, is it going to be that easy? It unfortunately was not, because here we are still working through it. But a lot of that, and again, it's data as a reference and some attachments as well. So
Is there currently a time frame of when this is being brought back to the table at the state level, or no?
So our hope is that Rep. Green will introduce or enroll his bill even as early as next week. It has been a balance between House and Senate leadership as to what they would take up. There have been several bills introduced that may have been introduced without the endorsement of House and Senate leadership that have stalled and not gone anywhere, and that's sitting in the insurance committee for some time. But we do believe, working with Rep. Green, he's been deputized by Florida Leader Ben Frederick, who was also given the direction of the speaker to, hey, look into this and try to figure something out. And so we do believe Green will enroll his bill likely next week.
You'll keep us updated?
Happy to be on the agenda.
Thank you.
Next time too, if you'll have me.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Item 15B, other general public comment. This is for any subject matter. The rules that apply: state your name for the record, speak only to the chairperson, stand behind the podium when speaking, limit comments to 3 minutes or fewer, and follow the direction of the chairperson when speaking.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Edward Ferns. I'm from Compassionate Care Home Health Services. We've been in town for 10 to 15 years, business for 22. I've worked in the healthcare field for about 24 years, and I've never seen our company start releasing clients, and that's exactly what's happening under no fault action of our legislators. We have let about 15 people go, first time in 22 years. We've discharged 6 clients, so they're no longer receiving care. Statewide, there's 18,000, roughly, they figure, catastrophic injured people that this is going to affect. Currently, it's affected, the survey through BIA, 15,000 have gotten dropped from care for this new Auto Reform Act. 3,000 people have lost their jobs. 100 agencies have stopped taking no-fault cases, and 21 agencies have shut their doors, including Serenity, which was just around the corner. So I would like to see if you guys would help us urge legislation to change the no-fault reform law that passed in 19. That is all I have. I got some statistics, some information if you guys are willing to accept it. I didn't, I'm a little new to this politician game here, so.
I am too, man. This is my fourth board meeting. So
We are too.
This is my
So
first.
can we put this to, on the committee of the whole to discuss, next week?
I would be willing, sorry, I'm not the mic here. I'd be willing to come and join and help you guys sort through some of the information. There is a lot. There's a lot to keep up on. There's We Can't Wait, which is a website, a Facebook website that has interviewed families. And there was a whole bunch of these people that showed up at the Capitol. There's BIA, there's Michigan Home Health Association, or Michigan Home and Hospice Association that has joined this fight. Attorneys, I can't even name all those that have joined to try to get this changed. We're just trying to get a reasonable reimbursement for these families. An example for us, I don't know if my 3 minutes are up, but
You got a minute.
Well, we do work for State Farm and they haven't paid us in 5 months. They have just kept rejecting the bills. We're getting $12.60.
I've been giving my premiums every month.
Yeah, and nobody's has went down. They did say they were gonna reimburse everybody $400. I'm not sure if that's actually come to fruition or not for the overpaying in this catastrophic fund, which there is, I believe, $27 billion to take care of these people. And so the money is there to take care of these, and we are still paying for that. So something needs to change. And that's all I have. I mean, it could be our family, it could be us that sake of our, so.
I read something last night that, and I think that this is what you're talking about. There's a scam out there and they were putting people on alert that refund checks are supposed to be coming from insurance agencies to individuals in March. And there's people out there that are attempting to, will be calling and attempting to get people's refund checks. So I'm assuming this refund check, which I know nothing about, is what you're
Yes,
you're
they were supposed to
discussing.
refund $400, I believe it's $400 a card. I
It
like I
was
said, I
insured
was
as
paying-
of October 31st of last year.
Yes,
And it's supposed to come as a credit on your, from my understanding, it's a credit on your insurance bill.
Oh.
Not good, the insurance company not gonna directly say, check was my understanding. I could,
Yeah,
I
that's
could be
not-
wrong,
That's not how
but
I understood it, but
I
it
could
was
be
coming
wrong.
as a check, and there are individuals out there that are, so if you get any abnormal phone calls, do not accept them and provide any information.
We talked to, the wife and I talked to our insurance company. It was like $400 per vehicle.
right,
And I said, well, I have a old car, and whatnot. And they said, yeah, that's even listed. And it's like a $80 check.
right, yeah, if you got a historical vehicle.
Historical.
Yeah,
the worst part about that is they're taking that out of that fund that was set aside for these catastrophic
right,
injuries. And the biggest percentage of people under 17 that have TBI are from auto accidents. So this is, I have 2 children, so this is really home for me to make sure that, if it does happen, that they're taken care of.
It's just, I'm sorry, it's
Oh,
just
no,
the
you're right.
timing. We're talking about getting refunds back, but this is going on the table again next week, so.
Well, they hope to get it on the table next week. They hope to get introduced yesterday. A bunch of us at the Capitol. It was probably 300 people-ish were at the Capitol yesterday, and it didn't get introduced. So now they're hoping that does get introduced on Tuesday, but there's no guarantee that that's gonna happen. And unless we get more people to push, a lot of people don't even know what's happening, and that's the worst part. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, and they have no idea that this is actually happening. And that's really sad. So I would, if you guys would join us, that would be great. But everybody has their own opinion on it, so I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you very much. We'll put this on the committee of the whole to discuss. Any other general public comment in the room? Oh, come on up, sir. State your name.
My name is Mike Benefiel. I'm with M33 Access. Happy New Year. And I will.
Go ahead.
I have been addressing some things in the last 6 months with some specific entities in the county that I have been extremely concerned about for the past, it's really become evident over the past month and a half or so. These entities are the transit department and the airports, and then of course the industrial department. These 3 areas of the county are neglected extremely with fiber optic services to those areas. 33 Access is willing to work out whatever we gotta do at cost, whatever it is. Let's get these entities taken care of. It's costing the county money for transit. Because they gotta use hotspot when the one service goes down. And I've been talking with Tom, I've been talking with Ray, I've been talking with a few other people regarding these issues. There's gotta be something we can do to help these areas. They're contacting me, we're working together, trying to figure out areas of putting things in. I've done engineering already for these areas so that we can, submit things and push things through. But I'd like to team up with the county and say, look, these are areas that I know personally that are having problems that shouldn't be having problems. When the internet at the airport goes down, airport can't be used. Because the FAA information for safety and protocol is broadcasted through the internet system on out. And so when the internet goes down, it can't broadcast the safety information, weather information for pilots. If there's an emergency, they can't actually use the airport. That's a huge deal. Transit building, when the transit building doesn't have the internet, they can't actually communicate properly with the drivers and get the necessary information they need to do. Those are just the two entities I know that have been dealing with for the past 6 months, trying to figure out better avenues, what we can do to fix those problems. I am excited across the board about the ARPA funding because to me it was a big mess. It was a pain in the tail end for me to try to deal with the federal government and all that other stuff. I'm glad it's in the hands of each individual place that we can be able to do things in the buildings and do things to shore themselves up to take care of themselves for the future. I am not concerned about, like I said, I'm not concerned about making money on putting infrastructure in. I don't care about making money on infrastructure. My job is as an internet provider is to make money on a service that's provided, not on the construction of the service. Okay, a lot of people out there try to make money on the construction of service. I am not. I'm a local company, so I'm trying to take care of my local people. So those are the entities I would like to help you with.
Can we put that on the agenda for committee of the whole as well to discuss those three? You said the transit, the airport, and
the industrial park.
Thank you.
Very much, Kate.
Any other general public comment in the room? Any general public comment on the phone?
Make
Any
a
public
motion.
comment on the phone? We have item 16. We're going to be going into closed session. After closed session, there will be no further business. A closed session is scheduled to consult with the county attorney about a written opinion that concerns the Kirtland Community College millage. Closed session for this purpose is permitted under the Open Meetings Act. No other business will be considered after closed session.
Sure.
Oh, sir, go ahead. Mr.
I
Matt.
just wanted to point out one thing, just under the Open Meetings Act, it's 15.268 paren H. And the reason I point that out specifically is that there's a typo in the board rules that refers to this reason to go into closed session on page 11. It says 15268E. So I just wanted to point that out, make sure that we're citing to the correct provision of the OMA. And it requires a 2/3 roll call vote to go into closed session. And the way you've stated it is otherwise correct.
Thank you.
What number was that?
15.268H.
All right, Kate, you made the motion. I will second that.
I didn't make the motion, but
Oh, then I'll make the motion that we go into closed session to that.
I'll support it.
particular-
We have a motion for Commissioner Scott with support to go into closed session. Can I get a roll call vote on that?
Jenny David,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook.
Yes.
Ron Vaughn,
Yes.
Brad Newbecker.
Yes.
We're going to go into closed session at 10:59. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
No, I have
I want one.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
I'll be on the hallway.
Sorry.
Secure the door.
Thank you. We are back
Okay.
into open session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn from open session.
We have a motion to go back into open session.
Oh, I'll make a motion to go back in open session.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Scott with support from Commissioner Serbrook to go back into open session. Can we get a roll call vote on that?
Mark Serbrook,
Yes.
Ron Vaughn, Brad Newbecker,
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes,
Craig Scott.
Yes, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
we have a motion with support to adjourn at 11:26. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion adjourned.
Thank you for attending our meeting.
I didn't, I didn't look at it.
Thank you. Oh, I got one question.